You can see these large footprints embedded into the carpet, creeping along the wall ninja style.
She raised her arms up over her head and started to come towards you. And she had her mouth open like she was screaming. I hear my sister on the top bunk say, Ashley, you could see pieces of her hair being twirled in thin air.
But then all of a sudden, the green orb comes towards our truck, then it shoots out over the mountains into outer space. It is gone.
So that is my ghost story.
Hi, and welcome to Haunted AF, the podcast of real ghost stories told by real people. We are your hosts. I'm Julie Fisk.
And I'm Rebecca Black. Did you forget?
I did. I forgot what came next, which is my name, because that's the kind of show it's going to be. Woo-hoo. So coming up, we're going to talk to Lindsey about the UFO footage that she sent in. It's a UFO. Fred.
I love it.
And finally, we're going to talk to Nurse Meg.
Yes.
And I'm so excited. Rebecca has not heard this interview yet. And
I've been thinking about it, I kid you not, for a week now.
I might put a trash can right next to you because
got mine. I said I was going to bring one so I didn't have to taint yours.
You have dry heaved on the show before, like not faking it.
It doesn't take much for me to dry heave.
Right. So that's all coming up.
Yes. Send us your stories. We need more ghost stories. hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com. You can send them any way you like. We like them written. We like them recorded. Videos, especially if you have a cool country accent. Like, bring it on. hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com.
And don't forget, if you've binged all the shows and you're like, I need more, go to the Haunted AF Patreon page. Yes, patreon.com/hauntedaf. You can go. We've got tons of exclusive content there. We're not posting new stuff right now because we've got to put it all here.
But there's plenty for you to catch up on.
But there's ton. There's like 2 years worth. Mm-hmm. And I'd also like to, first of all, we have to say thanks to our new patrons. We have Shannon Barrows and Michelle Ghana. And also, just a reminder, Haunted AF is a free podcast.
Yes, it is.
You are listening to us for free right now.
You're welcome.
And I've actually, 2 of my favorite podcasts recently, I'm like, oh, look, new content.
Yeah.
And I've tried to listen, and they are actually subscriptions now. So,
no.
I know. So it's happening. We knew that was happening. Mm-hmm. Haunted AF, totally free.
Yes, it is. Quick question. How is the Doll in the Hall challenge?
We haven't gotten any videos.
None. And why do people not want to do this? I'm about to just shame everybody.
Well, for the record, I haven't done mine either.
I didn't either. Okay, that's my problem. I'm trying to figure out how I can scare the bejesus out of my husband.
Yeah.
And there's no... because he's in football season right now. So there's no good hour for me to get him.
Yeah.
Because we're so crisscrossed right now.
What do you think about scaring Jeff, your co-host at Miles in the Morning on the morning show? Because you guys are always
fantastic.
You're always creeping around that building like super early in the morning. It seems like it would be easy to
There's got to be like a cardboard cutout of some kind that I can put in the men's room.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. When I was doing mornings there one time, this is terrible. I went to the bathroom. And I had just settled in, and my co-host and our producer, they were in the men's room, which our walls, we have a shared wall.
Right.
So they both leaned up against the wall and started pounding on it as hard as they could, which sounded like an earthquake or something.
That's so mean.
And I think I peed all over my pants. Like it was one of those like pulling my pants up really fast. It was horrible. Do that.
Okay.
Do that. Film him running out in the hall.
I will try my best.
And then send it to
hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com.
So we're on the phone with Lindsey. And before we go any further, I just need to share this video that Lindsey sent to us the other day.
It's a UFO, Fred.
Fred.
It's a UFO, Fred. And legit, there's something floating in the sky. When I'm looking at it, I'm like, it looks like an airplane at first because it's got the flashing lights on it.
Yes.
But then you don't see any wings on it, or the tail, or the nose cone, or anything. So we have Lindsey on the phone. Lindsey, first of all, where did you film this?
This is at the Point Loma Liberty Station area of San Diego as October of last year. Your first thought, you're like, oh, it's a blimp. And then you notice that blinking light and you think, oh, it's a plane. But in real time, it didn't look like either. It wasn't moving. It was just floating, like completely stationary in the sky, which is why I busted out my phone because I don't go around filming obvious looking aircraft.
What?
I got so excited because I don't know how many times I've told Fred, my husband, I really want to see a UFO, which he's always teasing me about, and which is why he giggles at me. But you also don't hear him dispute it either when I say it's a UFO, Fred, which he 100% would have done if it clearly was a plane, a blimp or something.
Right.
But
Yeah,
no argument from Fred. We both agree it definitely wasn't an airplane.
Like, I don't think it was a blimp either because it's not fat enough to me.
Right. It doesn't look like anything like a blimp, and it's actually kind of close to the ground too. So if it was coming in for a landing, it seems like it's low enough where there would be obvious movement, and there really isn't. But it's strange because the blinking light seems like a regular airplane.
Yeah.
I assume that you Googled it to see if anybody else saw this thing.
I Googled, I looked around, nothing came up.
I feel like we need to contact MUFON or something. Do you remember the exact date that it was?
It was Sunday, October 2020, 6:35 p.m.
Oh, 6:35
p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
gotta love Snapchat.
We're gonna put that out there and just we'll hit up our UFO fans or even just our aviation fanatics. If anybody sees this and they're like, oh, that's just a blah blah blah.
I mean, it could be some sort of military equipment.
And I honestly believe that like most UFO activity is probably like top secret.
I know.
They
know more than they're letting on.
Right. Yeah. I had a friend who worked on the Stealth Project a million years ago. Yeah. And he wasn't allowed to even tell his wife anything about it.
Yeah.
I think that was some spooky shit back then.
Kidding.
So you imagine seeing something like that in the sky. Of course you're going to think aliens. So, well, Lindsey, stay in touch. And if we find anything else about it, then we'll definitely let you know. But we're sharing this video. I love it. It's a UFO, Fred. Yeah. Tell Fred we said hi.
Yeah.
Tell Fred we said suck it.
Will.
Poor Fred.
Thanks, girls.
Oh, it's my turn up first.
Yes.
First email. My kids, do we know who it's from? Oh,
it's from Nikki.
Nikki. My kids see and talk to things often. Well, that's a good start. This story involves my oldest son, Jake. When he was about 6, I had just given he and my other son a bath. I was drying my youngest off, and when I turned around, Jake was staring into the dark bathroom. I asked him what he was doing, and he told me there was a man in the bathroom. I told Jake, Mommy believes you, but I can't see what you're seeing, so you'll have to tell me. He said, Mom, there's a man with a gray face with black eyes, but he doesn't have arms.
Oh!
Yeah. No. I asked what the man was doing, and he said, he's just staring at you, Mom.
No.
So I put on my big girl panties and shut the bathroom door as quick as I possibly could. I went back to getting the kids ready, and Jake kept saying, Mom. I told him to wait because I was busy, but he kept calling my name until I finally said, What, Jake? He said, Mom, he's standing right behind you.
Jake!
No, Jake!
Stop!
Needless to say, I didn't sleep very well that night, but I have plenty of stories to share. Sorry it's not recorded. Technology is not my friend, and I couldn't figure it out. LOL, Nikki.
Why is he staring at the mom?
She must be hot.
Aren't Nikki's usually hot?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of like a hot girl name?
Hot girl Nikki, yeah.
Okay, so there's also this guy named Mark Grippo on TikTok, and I've been talking to him this past week, and he's got a really great page. His TikTok page is at that gay friend of yours. He's so funny.
I love that name.
Yeah, and he sends us videos all the time.
Love
but
it.
I wrote to him this past week, and I was like, these are great.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear your stories because you're fantastic. He actually has a couple of stories. So he shared this one about his house. He says, I have to get up early every morning around 2:30 a.m. to get ready for work. 3 a.m., I'm in my living room going through TikTok when I hear a baby crying.
Nope.
Now, my mother didn't raise a fool, so I did not go searching for that baby. I just covered my ears and tried to ignore it. My husband never heard the baby crying and thought I was crazy until the day I got smart and recorded it. I played it for him and a friend of ours who is a medium, and no one can tell us where this baby is coming from. So we are going to plan to talk to Mark. We're going to try to have him on the podcast next week, and we are going to share that video.
I'm like, I want to hear the recording of the baby crying.
Yeah, he said he's going to send it to us. I need to.
Oh my God, I thought for sure he recorded it and then no one else heard it.
No, he says it's on the video.
Oh, yes!
Shoshana! Have you ever seen?
I literally was thinking Inglourious Basterds.
Yes! Yes! Thank you!
Shoshana as soon as I saw it.
Shoshana! Yes! Oh my God, I can't. You are same brain. Same brain. Okay.
Because we love movies.
Yes. So we have a very special Dead Pet of the Week, and you remember this theme song.
There are friends to the end, but sometimes they come back again. So don't be scared, don't you freak. It's just the Dead Pet of the Week.
Oh, I love. So that's Misery, Shoshana's kitty cat.
Oh.
And Misery just passed away.
Oh.
I know. And she let us know because she knows how much we loved that song and how you can hear the kitty. Oh. So she sent us the sweetest little picture of Misery. Oh my God. It's like heartbreaking. So yes.
I'm so sorry, Shoshana.
Yes. Sorry for your loss, Shoshana. Thank you so much for sending us that sweet picture though.
Dead Pet of the Week here from Jamie. My very first night in my new home where I was living with a very friendly woman and her cat. A little about me. It's a habit of mine to close my bedroom door and lock it. Well, I would too if I lived with a cat and an old lady.
We don't know she's old. Why you assume?
I don't know. I guess I have a prejudice against cat ladies. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
What?
I knew you were going to get mad. I'm so sorry. You're not old.
I'm definitely a cat lady though. I am full.
You're full on cat.
I'm like covered in cat fur right now. Yes.
Okay. So a habit of hers is to close her bedroom door and lock it because I always felt safer that way. Such was the case on the night in question, but as I turned out the lights to get to bed, I immediately felt something jump onto the foot of my bed, run up my body, leap onto my pillow. I felt it right above my head and then jump onto the ground again. I thought, oh, it's my roommate's cat, and sat up, expecting to see his furry face looking up at me. Then it dawned on me. My bedroom door was closed and locked. The cat wasn't even in my room. So, what the fuck? So, what the fuck just jumped on my bed and ran across me?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
And for the record, that's such an a-hole cat move.
No kidding.
When mine do that, it's like, I hate them.
Wait till you're in the dead of sleep.
Yeah, I hate that. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Jamie. So this next story comes from Kenny.
Hi, Julie and Rebecca. My name is Kenny. I'm in the Dallas area and am a United Methodist minister. I have a podcast of my own. It's called Faith Spotting, which I co-host with a friend of Julie's, Mike, and we review films and then spot faith issues in those films and discuss those. So if any of your listeners are interested in that, I invite them to give us a shout. I have a story for y'all. I don't think I've told too many people this, but about 10 years ago, we bought our current house, and a year into our living here, we noticed our daughter, who was 10 at the time, or 11, she's autistic and nonverbal and pretty profound, but she started having these night terrors. It's a nightmare on steroids. They just wake up screaming, sweating, really inconsolable. And she would hit herself and bite herself, which sometimes she does when she's frustrated, but they were just pretty intense. One time in particular, we just gotten her down and we just heard the most primal, guttural, blood-curdling scream coming from her room. Of course, we immediately ran in there and she was utterly inconsolable. The whole time she was looking directly at her closet in her room. Even when my wife was kneeling by the bed trying to comfort her, she was looking past my wife to this closet. In my mind at that moment, I suddenly had this chill feeling that there was not a nightmare, but a night terror in her closet. A couple of months later, I was up late one night trying to watch some TV. I saw this figure, and it was a shadow figure, dark, but with some silvery highlights or something. And it was sort of gliding about my height, gliding slowly through the kitchen and moved into the breakfast area and was looking out the glass door and windows. And it hasn't noticed me yet. And then, surely enough, it slowly turned and noticed me. And it stood there. And it was looking at me. I was looking at it for 5 or 10 seconds. And I'm trying to decide, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden, in a flash, it was on me. It covered 25 feet of room. It was on top of me. And I could feel it trying to press into me. I was paralyzed. I couldn't shout. I could barely breathe. Couldn't do anything except tighten up my muscles to try to repel what was on me, in me, literally push stretched out. This lasted seemed like forever, but it was, I don't know, 10 seconds. And then finally it started to release and dissipate. And I was able to breathe, catch my breath, and sort of just... It was the strangest thing I'd ever been through. It was just one of those, what just happened, and hadn't had anything since. I was thinking, though, as a Methodist minister, it's not unheard of. John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, was an Anglican priest in the 1700s. His family home was haunted. They had this spirit that was haunting everybody in the house for about 6 months. They called it Old Jeffrey, and it became one of the more well-known ghost stories in England. Anyway, thanks a lot. Hope y'all have a good rest of the show.
Wow. Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah, I am very curious about how he said he had to flex and tense up
and
push get it out.
I know, that's really creepy. I feel like we haven't had that kind of experience before with shadow people. Thank you, Kenny. His daughter's name is Madeline, and I love that Old Jeffrey the ghost.
I'm Old Jeffrey.
Old Jeffrey. That's not a scary sounding ghost
not
at all. We'll post a link to Kenny's podcast, Faith Spotting, at hauntedaf.com and the companion blog. And just quick reminder, you can go to hauntedaf.com. You can watch YouTube versions of this, and that's also where we post all of our links and photos. And if you are watching on YouTube right now, you are seeing that I am wearing one of our new Haunted AF t-shirts, the "If I Die First, I'm Coming Back to Haunt You."
It's so cute.
So it's way too freaking small. And I just want to let everybody...
warning, buy a size bigger.
Two sizes bigger.
Dang.
Because this is a large, and it is skin tight. It's like sausage casing. If you buy one of these, I'm serious. Size
a 2XL for everybody.
Yeah, we've only sold 2 of these. In fact, this one,
maybe that's why. Do you think people are returning them because they're too small?
I don't think you can return them because they're printed. But there's some woman out there severely pissed off because she got this shirt and she's like, "Are you freaking kidding me?
Is this a baby shirt?"
When you pull it out, it looks like a sock. Hauntedaf.com. All the rest of our stuff is normal sizes.
Yes, it really is.
And this is a great shirt. Just size up.
This next story comes from Kat. She says, "Hello, ladies. I'm not a longtime listener, but once I found your podcast, I binged until I caught up, and now I can't wait for each new episode."
Thank you, Kat.
I just can't get enough.
Woo!
Kat, you're the best. We love you. I have always been a believer in the paranormal, but I have never had many experiences. My siblings are not the kind of people that believe, or at least share, in the paranormal, so I don't often talk about what I've experienced. Having said that, thanks so much for providing a place to do this. I remember when I was a tween and I looked out my backyard only to see a car, probably from the late 1930s, driving straight at me. This was in an urban area with a small yard bordered by thick stone walls, so any car would have been bizarre enough, but this one wasn't really there. It was more like the outline of a car. As I watched, it came to just about the edge of the porch, turned to my left, and faded away.
Ooh!
This area of the city hadn't been developed until the late 70s, early 80s, and had just been desert until then. So I can only imagine that this was a residual haunting. I like to think of it as possibly gangsters making a getaway. Love, Kat.
I love the ghost car stories. We simply do not get enough of those. All right, so it's time to talk to Nurse Meg. She was only available while Rebecca was still at work, so I interviewed her on my own. There is a trigger warning before we get to the super gross story. So when we get to that point, I encourage you, if you have an issue with that, to skip forward a good 15 to 30 seconds.
I'm excited.
Rebecca, here's the trash can.
Yay, just in case.
Here's the trash can.
The good news is that I've only eaten Flamin' Hot
those little
veggie sticks.
Which, for the record, the Flaming Hot veggie sticks, I think they're called Screaming Hot.
God, they're good.
They're so good. I was just like mowing through a bag of them by the time Rebecca got here. That's not a sponsorship.
It's not. We wish it was, though.
It's just pure love. So here we go. This is Nurse Meg. So we're on the phone with Meg Harrell, and we found Meg because she posted something on her TikTok page. So Meg has this like raging TikTok page that goes along with her website. It's nursemegrn.com. And you mainly tell stories about working in a hospital and all the wild things that happen. But this time you actually told a ghost story, which is why everybody started tagging Haunted AF in it. So welcome to the Haunted AF podcast, Meg Harrell.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here.
Before we go any further, I just have to say thank you to you and all of our frontline workers and everyone in healthcare for everything that you have done. My sister and both of my nieces are nurses as well, and I know how tough it's been.
Thank you. To me and to a lot of other people, it's just like we just kept showing up to work, and it did get a little bit challenging, but we just kept showing up. You know, that's how it feels.
You just keep rolling with it. And I've been watching some of your stories on TikTok. Before we hang up, I'm going to ask you to share the grossest thing that's ever happened to you. And I know for a fact, nurses have the best stories. There's no one better to have a margarita with than a half-drunk nurse.
I mean, there's so many that I can share because there's just so much paranormal activity that follows me personally and on night shift. One of the most recent ones that I was actually telling a friend of mine when we went out last weekend is we were reminiscing about when we both worked in a nursing home, and we had a new patient come in, and he was on hospice, so he wasn't going to be there for too long. So we set him up, and the first night he was there, and it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, right in the middle of the shift, and he starts screaming from his room, which of course is at the end of the hall. He starts saying, "I'm not going. I'm not going." Me and the other CNAs look at each other like, "Wait, what?" So we run over there, and when we go to check on him, he had no pulse. He had passed, but he was a DNR, so we didn't do any resuscitation. But we were so freaked out for the rest of the night. First of all, he was so quiet. He was towards the end on hospice.
Right.
And all the is yelling, and who was he talking to? Because he was by himself in the room, and where didn't he want to go? So creepy.
Yeah, because normally when you hear those stories, it's like something peaceful. We just got a story the other day. A woman's mother looked over her shoulder and started speaking German to someone who wasn't there.
I mean, I have an entire series on my YouTube and on my TikTok where I tell stories like the creepiest things that have ever happened. I think we're all the way to part 23.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, 23 comes out this week on my TikTok. But man, there's lots of stories about people passing, and then the room starts to have a lot of activity. Like the person passes and we take the body to the morgue, but then inside of the room, the bed is moving by itself, or the EKG leads are swinging, or the bed alarm will go off, or the call bell will go off, and there's nobody in the room. That kind of thing happens.
Meg,
pretty frequently.
How many times would you say in your career has that happened to you?
Oh, more than 50.
Oh my gosh.
For sure, more than 50.
Well, what does everyone do in that moment?
The thing is, when you're at work, you're so busy, and there's some things that you just play off, and there's some things that you're like, well, that was weird. But then there's so many things that are happening at once, and you're like, not sitting around ever. So you're like, I got to go do the next thing, go see the next patient. We all have these weird coping mechanisms where gross things will happen and we will make humor out of it. Mm-hmm. And really paranormal things will happen and we'll do the same. We'll just make fun of it. I remember working with one night shift nurse where there was some paranormal stuff definitely happening in a room where there were things swinging and alarms going off. And she went into the room and she was like, "Ghost, you better stop. I'm way too busy. I'm not in the mood." And then we didn't have any more activity for the rest of the shift.
And it's funny how often that seems to work. I'll do that in my own house when the lights start flashing for no reason. I'll say, please just leave the lights on. And 9 times out of 10, I feel like I'm jinxing it though. Like it's listening to me right now. So you said you've had paranormal activity kind of following you. So what's something that's happened to you outside of the hospital?
I did move into a 100-year-old house recently, and I was casually talking to my daughter, and she said to me, I laughed, but it really did scare me at the time. She was talking about a man and a woman that she talks to sometimes in the middle of the night. And then she's, yeah, like the man and woman that sleep under your bed.
Wait, under your bed or under her bed?
Under my bed.
Oh.
And she's so casually like, yeah, the man and the woman that sleep under your bed.
Oh, gosh. Do you ever wonder if maybe I shouldn't even ask this, if you've ever brought things home from the hospital?
So I was recently filming a TikTok where I was answering a comment, and the comment was, do you feel like when patients die that they stay in the hospital, that their spirits stay in the hospital, or do you feel like if they had trauma in the hospital that they stay or something? And I was answering in the video, like, yeah, sometimes I think when people pass in the hospital, maybe the room stays haunted with their spirit temporarily. Maybe, they're going through a journey. And as I'm filming the TikTok, one of my kids' toys that was in a cabinet starts going off and playing a song.
Meg, oh my gosh.
But that was sort of like evidence, and everybody was commenting like, oh, I guess they follow you home.
Okay, tell everybody what your TikTok is.
So my TikTok is at Nurse Meg RN, and my website is Nurse Meg RN. You can find me on every platform with the same name.
Nurse Meg RN on YouTube as well?
Yes, it is.
So what do you do when you're dealing with a patient who's just passed? Like, do you ever talk to them?
When I'm doing like postmortem care, like getting them ready to go into the morgue or whatever is next, I always talk to the spirit. Always. That was what an older nurse taught me when I was very young, that you always talk to the spirit and be like, you've crossed over to the other side. You can go search for your family now. You don't have to stay here. And I do that all the time now.
Oh, Meg, that's so beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that. That's actually wonderful. And on that really glorious note, now you have to tell us the story of the grossest thing that's ever happened to you at the hospital. And just trigger warning for everyone listening. Oh. This is so nasty, but I was laughing my ass off. It's just so terrible. Okay.
I did lose some followers because of the grossness, but I think that's for the best because I want my audience to understand my sadistic humor and sometimes my disgusting stories. So when I worked in the ER, we had a gentleman who was experiencing homelessness come in. He was not walking. He had an old wheelchair that he had been using, and he hadn't taken off his socks and boots for years, but he was having some like pains in his leg, like from his foot up his leg, and he wanted us to check it out. So we did, and as we were kind of cutting off the boot because it was so old and worn, we had to cut it with trauma scissors. Mm-hmm. As we were like getting grossed out imagining it now, and like the smell comes back. So I pulled off his boot, but as I was slowly pulling off the boot, part of the flesh of the foot came with it. It was all necrotic and dead, and there were maggots had filled the boot. So I think the maggots were actually eating the dead flesh so that he didn't become septic. So it was actually to his benefit because otherwise he would have gone septic and had a full body infection. And I am telling you, every ER nurse or ER doctor has this same story. People thought it was outrageous, but if you check the comments, every ER nurse and doctor has seen something like this.
I'm so sorry.
It was horrifying. But what was so impressive is this guy, like, he didn't flinch. I mean, the flesh was dead, so he didn't have pain in his foot, but he was like not surprised. He was amazing. I wish I could have like followed what happened after, but once they leave the ER and they get admitted, I'm just on to the next patient.
Right. You are amazing. I'm so impressed. So everybody go and follow nursemegRN.com. Follow her on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, because your stories are amazing. And can you keep in touch? Can we check back in maybe before Halloween and get some more stories from you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like now you've like opened the doors and now something super creepy is going to happen.
I hope so. Meg, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, hauntedaf.com. We will post the links. I'm so proud of you.
I know, I didn't throw up.
No, you didn't. You
thought
made
about
it through
it though.
2 solid dry heaves, but other than that, you did a really good job.
All I can picture is like, you know how you've got raw meat like on a fork? That's all I could think of when she pulled that boot off. It was just jiggly meat.
Thank you to all of our frontline workers, all nurses and doctors.
You,
seriously.
We couldn't do it.
Never. Okay.
Hey, let's have lunch.
Okay, tell them where to send the scary stories.
Oh, please send us all your scary stuff. hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com. Again, hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com. Written, recorded, audio, video. We want it all, even your maggot boot story.
Don't forget to send us your doll in the hall videos. We need those. And coming up next week, hopefully we're going to have that crying baby video that Mark was talking about. And we've got a happening in real time ghost story. Somebody just reached out to us and they're like, look, I moved into this duplex with my sister and her kids and stuff's going down. Like things are happening. She's already reached out to the Ghost Adventure guys. Like, can you come over and help us with
fix it, make it go away.
Yeah. So keep sending those scary stories to hauntedafpodcast@gmail.com so we can share them on the next Haunted AF.